there, you.
So I'm a high school English teacher.
Oh, my hero.
And I've read your stories with my students. And I'm wondering, A, how do you get young people to give a shit about art? B, what's it like to you've written from your perspective a lot. He, I feel like, is the voice of a lot of my students. And people that can't really get it, they can get into reading, but they haven't gotten into reading. So writing from their perspective for someone who might not get into the art. Writing a voice of people who don't read.
Thank you. I will quickly repeat the question. You got some rough characters in here, man. For real, I'm like actually a little frightened. So my interlocutor said, first part, I'll just take the first part. How do we get folks, especially young people, she teaches high school, she's a high school English teacher. How do we get people to love reading? First of all, right? That would be the first part, that's okay? I mean, we all understand that young people are at the sharp end of our instrumental machine society. Education no longer asks people to be educated. Education asks most of our young people, unless they're in private school. I mean, it's amazing. If you're in a public school, you're supposed to be a robot. If you're in a private school, you're not a robot. You get access to all sorts of free kind of experiences, to encounter art, to read, to be encouraged to deliberate. If you're in a public school, you've got to do these exams, you've got to do these tests, you've got to hit certain markers. Yeah? And so I guess my thing is that most young people have so little time because trillion-dollar corporations are seeking to capture their imaginary and their time. The thing about reading is that reading requires you to slow down to a pace of life that is very different from the one we live now. I mean, most of us can't switch down anymore. Most of us are so locked into ninth gear, but to read, you have to go back down to first. You have to go to the original human rhythm. A human rhythm where you have a space of deliberation, where you're with yourself and you're with another person. And I mean, hey guys, I love Twitter, whatever, I don't have an account, but that shit ain't a human pace. That's a machine pace. And so part of what we're dealing with isn't just that young people are recalcitrant and don't want to read. Part of what we're living with is a societal moment that has erased all the spaces where people can live in the slow zone that makes art possible. And young people are the ones who are most symptomatic of this disease. And we're fighting, it's a tough battle. I mean, you guys are on the front line. I always feel with the young people I work in high school, it's all about curating. You've got to figure out the right book for the perfect book for the student that can flip them. Because so many young people, despite their resistance, are dying to live in a world with a human pace. And how you can transform a student by selecting the absolute right text. But the way that we teach literature and the way that you're forced to teach literature guarantees that students will never want to read. Because reading is a muscle, you guys. I used to be a runner, and let's say some of you are not a runner. If I take you and say, hey, come out with a run with me, and we're going to put in 9 miles, you will never run again. You will never run again. And this is the way that we teach reading. We take students whose reading muscles are completely underdeveloped, and then we lay things like Brave New World on them. We lay modernist classics that are incredibly, incredibly dull on them. You give me a high school and I will take those students and have them only read comic books from freshman year to senior year, and their reading muscle will be 10 times stronger. They'll be 10 times more passionate about reading than these kids who are being forced to read, all the crap that we make them read. Because books are being selected by adults who forget that muscles need to be first developed. And And so there's a lot of challenges, you know? I think in the end, all we can do is constantly look for opportunities to pass books on to kids. I mean, I always feel like this is a culture that we're smuggling books. I'm like fighting Twitter, Facebook, my beloved, you know, YouTube. I'm fighting all this stuff to try to get a kid to read a book, man. And I think it's a struggle, and we just got to keep fighting it, book by book, kid by kid, hoping that one day the machine breaks. You know? But it wouldn't be possible if we didn't have English teachers. I mean, I'm not even just saying that, it's true. You guys are like the front line, the few people who preserve what's left of the human rhythm. And people are always talking about that slow food movement, you know? But really, it's the slow life movement. And most of us are so far away from it. Yeah. Haven't you thought, like, kind of Hunger Games has done a lot of work? Yeah. A lot of kids who won't read, you give them Hunger Games, and they're like, wait, we kill each other? I'll read it. Yeah. Hunger Games makes perfect sense because kids are basically being told by the society, kill each other. Because that's all competition is. I mean, competition is there can only be one winner. You know, you wonder why our kids are like deranged. Couple more and we're done for the night.